speech title is History is a Conscience of a Nation. Girish, History is a Conscience of a Nation.
Thank you, Nidya. National consciousness is a shared sense of identity. We all share a common language, common ethnicity, or a common cultural background, and from there stems our sense of identity. A very good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. My name is Girish, and today I'm going to repeat my speech from last week. History is a conscience of a nation. Very recently, when Arvind Krishnan was announced as the next CEO of IBM, it was a moment of great pride. One of our own was going to be the next CEO of IBM. But when you look around, we have a lot of MNCs today who have CEOs of Indian descent. Not too long ago, when I worked for one of my first projects, we had a customer from the US visit us and give a presentation on the project. And in the audience of 30 to 40 people, there was not one who could stand up, ask a question, and be counted. But today, we are part of a large MNC, delivering large projects globally, and we have leaders like Arvind Krishnan who are taking over the reins of large corporations. We have come a long way. And it is a time to celebrate this success, cherish this moment of success, but it's also time to step back and ask a question: are we headed in the right direction? Sorry.
No, just scroll down.
Okay, so sorry about that. So famous quote, what got you here won't take you there. History, my dear friends, is the conscience of a nation. And I strongly believe that we are influenced by the 300 years of history. And in the context of these 300 years, we are successful. But if you look beyond, expand your horizon, and ask the same question, are we successful? You may get a different answer. So here's a chart which talks about India's GDP as a percentage of the world GDP. And you'll notice that for the first 17 centuries, India's GDP was anywhere between 24 to 30% of the world GDP. India was the largest economy until 1200, and it was the second largest from 1200 to 1700, second to China. It was only in the last 300 years we suffered, and we came down to 4% during independence, further down to 3% 1980, and the success we are seeing today is because we grew from 3% to 7% today. So what was it that made us so successful in our glorious past? Let's look at a few examples. This is an age-old custom where the newlyweds are asked to look at two stars, Arundhati Vashishta. And does anyone know about this custom? It's prevalent in Tamil Nadu. So in the two-star system, there's one star which is stationary while the other star rotates around it. These two stars are unique that they rotate around each other. And the newlyweds are supposed to look at the stars and mimic it in their married life. What intrigues me is, how did our ancestors know about these two stars? They did not have sophisticated telescopes. We all know today that time is measured by the prime meridian, the British meridian passing through London, the Greenwich Mean Time. What we may not know is prior to 1884, the prime meridian was in Ujjain, and there's a temple of Mahakaleshwar, the Lord of Time, that exists even today. Yet last week we talked about high-tech metallurgy, and there were two evidences: the iron pillar in Delhi, which has not corroded for 17 centuries. We also talked of wood steel, which was manufactured in India and exported globally. Both of these technologies have been lost in history. I studied metallurgy. There was not even a mention of this in our curriculum. We all studied books from the West. We also talked about Ayurveda, and we chose to treat my mom's knee pain with Ayurveda, and after 14 years, she is just fine without a knee replacement. So if you believe that prevention is better than cure, then Ayurveda is the way to go. In the past, it was very common for knowledge to be passed on from generation to generation verbally, and there was a lot of information that was hidden in a sacred text, sacred verses. Katapayadi Sankhya is one such encryption that was used. Here's an example. There's a verse which gives you the value of pi to the 31st decimal long before pi was invented or discovered. This slide talks about Upanishads. There have to be about 1,000 Upanishads, but we only know of 108 today, and there are commentaries available for only 10. So we have lost about 99%. I visited Nalanda University, very depressing. The library in Nalanda University, which was burned down, it was 3 stories, and that library burned for 3 months. Imagine the number of books that were destroyed. The teachers, the scholars, 3,000 of them were beheaded. We lost all of it overnight. I want to end here. We follow the West in our education, our business, professional lives, and even in our personal lives. If we continue, we might at best match the success of the West. It is time for us to acknowledge the ancient knowledge. Once we acknowledge, it will open up possibilities for us to study, research, and it will be our second chance to reinvent ourselves. Thank you.